So here is my response to 1 and 2 Kings. Decided to draw it instead of write it for the moment. So it starts off with King David, and he finds a guy called Solomon, who's one of his sons, and tells him that he will be king. There's a bit of a kerfuffle but just before this, but he says, I will give you this charge. So a charge, like a rule. And so in 1 Kings chapter 2 verse 3 and 4, he tells him to observe what the Lord requires, which pretty much means do what God says, and to obey him, and to be faithful, and to walk in his ways, and obey his laws. So keep his laws and his decrees. And if he does that, he will prosper. They're just different things that prosper, really. A lot of people, because prospering would also be people. And if you do this, if you and your descendant, both you and your descendants do this, David tells him that God will keep his promise, which is you will never fail to have a man on the throne of Israel. So there's a lovely little throne of Israel. So unfortunately the top of this has disappeared. But that says, then the Lord appears to Solomon, and he asks Solomon what he wants because God will give it to him, anything. And Solomon asks for wisdom, so I just drew a scroll, and owls, because, we get told they're wise sometimes. Hoot. And so what happens after that is God appears to him again and gives him that warning and says, I will never fail to put a man on your throne if you faithfully serve me. But if you or your children have your hearts turn away from me, then Israel will be cut off. Yes, terrible scissors, I know. Will be cut off from the land that he's given them. So if they don't walk faithfully, then he'll reject them and they'll be cut off from the land that he's promised. And so Solomon, unfortunately, is a bit of a ladies' man. He loves the women, and he decides to intermarry even though he is explicitly told not to. So even though Solomon is like the wisest person in existence, he makes some really unwise choices, and he marries all of these women. He has, I think, just an enormous amount of women, wives and concubines. And so God warns him that, if you intermarry, that your heart will turn to the idols of your wives. And so this is Solomon all old, and that's his heart. And his heart has run away with all his wives. Has run away and is worshipping other gods. So he's turned away from God and he's worshipping. It's a heart, yeah, it's funny. And so God gets really angry. Now I didn't really want to draw God, so I kind of made him an angry cloud, because I don't know if that's blasphemy or not, but I was trying. And so God's like, what are you doing, Solomon? And he gets really angry at him, understandably, because he couldn't have made it any clearer what he had to do. And so he says that, he's going to tear him from the throne, but not completely. So his people, he'll keep his promise to David, and so they get Judah. And then you have Israel, who has evil king after evil king after evil king, who does evil in the sight of the Lord. So he does evil in the eyes of the Lord, which is why it's red. Oh, look at how angry that eye looks. Yay. And so they just keep doing the wrong thing, king after king after king after king after king, apart from Jehu. So Jehu becomes a king, and he's the 10th king. And he was actually a prophet to begin with. So in 1 Kings 16, he's a prophet, and then it fulfills the prophecy in 1 Kings 21. So pretty much Jehu goes on this massive, before that, he gets anointed with oil and he becomes king. So he's not actually part of the bloodline, but he gets anointed as a king in 2 Kings chapter 9. So that's pretty good. And so then he goes on this hectic killing spree where, it's all fulfilling prophecy, but he kills like whole families. He gets told to kill Jezebel and Ahab's family. So that's Jezebel, look how pretty and luscious her hair is, and Ahab's house, and all of his descendants, every male, everyone. And so he kills everyone. Yeah, everyone. Fulfills the prophecy. Also fulfills the prophecy that dogs will lick up the bones and blood of Jezebel. So this is a lovely picture of dogs licking up her blood. And then he calls all of the Baalian priest people all together, and so they're worshipping Baal. And he calls them all together, and then he slaughters all of them. And that's Jehu. And then we've got Judah. So Judah's got a bit of a different history. So they have Rehoboam, who is an evil king to start off with, and they have a couple of evil kings, but then they have a good king. And their good king, his name is Asa, and he reigns, get it, because it's rain and there's an umbrella, he reigns for 41 years, so it's a really long reign for him. And then you've got Jehoshaphat, who is also a good king, but he keeps the high places up, which I know that's not what they look like, but they're high, so it's what they're going to be. And he reigns for 25 years. And so he was a good king, but he doesn't completely give his heart because he doesn't take down the high places. Then you've got king after king. So then you have King Joash, who is only 7, but he does good in the eyes of the Lord because he listens to the priest Jehoiada, and that's him there. However, he keeps the high places up and lets them burn incense, and they still make sacrifices. And so he reigned for 40 years. And he also rebuilt the temple. So he gets people's money and he gets orders people to fix it and stuff. And then there's 3 kings who do good, but they don't take the high places down, unfortunately. Then there's a king that does evil in the eyes of the Lord, and his name's Ahaz, and that's evil in the eye of the Lord, apparently. But after that, there's a very, very good king. And so his name is Hezekiah, and he is pretty amazing. He takes down all of the high places, gets rid of all of the priests, all of the, everything, just everything that was not God. And so he really has a heart for God. He's like no one who's ever come before or after him. He was pretty special. God actually extends his life for 15 years. And so he goes and he beats all of the king of Assyria and just all of this stuff because God's with him. So he kicks butt because God is with him, and he does it with Yahweh. And so then after that, there's king after king after king who are all evil. So then we have Josiah, who is only 8 years old, so he's another young kid, and he is said to have walked like his father David. So in other words, he's a good guy. He reigns for 31 years, and while he's king, he finds the book of the law, and then he reads it, and as he reads it, he gets more and more distressed and upset about how Israel hasn't been following this book, and he tears his robe. And so there's neither before nor after Josiah was there a king like him who turned to the Lord as he did, with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his strength, in accordance with the law of Moses. But God is still pretty angry, and his fierce anger burns against Judah because of all they've done to provoke his anger. And so he says he's going to remove Judah, as he did Israel, from his presence, and will reject Jerusalem, the city he chose, and the temple about which he said, "There shall be my name." But then even after that, there's still 3 kings who are evil, and then they get kicked out.